Hey guys, so today is going to be your lesson 6.4. We are going to go ahead and start on page 179. So up until now we have learned how to find x and y-intercept. We've also learned how to find the slope of a line either through through 2 points, or if you are given a graph. You've also learned up until now how you can identify from looking at an equation whether something is going to be linear or not linear. So keep in mind all of that information. You guys should be having your textbooks out in front of you while we're going over this video, and that way you guys can be taking notes. Please remember that you should be paying attention to every single thing, and if I tell you to do a your turn question, that you are actually pausing the video and that you are completing the your turn question to make sure that you're understanding before we move forward. Okay, so let's go ahead and get right into it. Alright, so right now we're going to be talking about slope-intercept form, and as I said, this is starting on page 179 of your textbook. Slope-intercept form is this equation right here. So you have y equals mx plus b, where m is your slope and b is your y-intercept. Alright, so here your textbook. Our essential question for this particular lesson says, how can you use the slope-intercept form of a linear equation to model real-world linear relationships? So it says, if you know the equation that describes a line, you can find its slope by using any two ordered pairs of numbers that are solutions of the equation. It is often easiest to use the ordered pairs that contain the intercepts. Now, I'm going to go ahead and in this video, I'm showing you exactly what your textbook is showing you to do. So I'm going to be walking you through what it says, but I'm also going to be showing you a trick that you guys can use. I'm actually going to be showing you two different tricks that you guys can use in order to find the slope for your equation. So if they give it to you in standard form, basically what you can do in order to find the slope of your line. Okay, so first things first. If I can find my pencil, actually. Oh, found it. Okay, so first things first. So it says here to find the slope of a line, 6x minus 5y equals 30. So up until now, as I mentioned in the very brief introduction, we have already discussed how we can find x and y intercept. We did that in lesson 6.2. So the way that your textbook is explaining on how you can find the slope of a line is simply by finding the x and y intercept of the line first. So if you have 6x minus 5y equals 30, what you can do is find your x-intercept first by making your y equal to 0. Once you've done that, this cancels out. You're left with 6x equals 30. Divide both sides by 6, and you have x equals 5. Remember that when x is 5, what that means is that your ordered pair is 5, 0. So that is your x-intercept. Then you can go ahead and find your y-intercept by doing the same thing but substituting 0 for x. So if you substitute 0 for x, that cancels out. You're left with negative 5 equals 30. If you divide both sides by negative 5, you're left with y equals negative 6. Okay, and if you have y equals negative 6, your point for this, or ordered pair, is going to be 0, negative 6. Now, you guys have already learned in lesson 6.3 how to find the slope of a line using 2 points. If you know that this is a point and this is a point of a line, then you can go ahead and use those 2 points to find slope. Okay, so if you know that you have y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1 for slope, then you can use these points, substitute it into this slope formula, which is what they've done down here. Okay, so you can see that down here what they did was they did negative 6 minus 0, and then they did 0 minus 5. So you have negative 6 minus 0 gives you negative 6, and 0 minus 5 gives you negative 5. Simplify these two negatives, your slope of that line is 6 over 5. Okay, so that's one way of solving it. A trick that I'm going to show you if I gave you that same equation of 6x minus 5y equals 30, if I give you that exact same equation, if we use what we've done before of using literal equations, if I make this equal to y, okay, which is basically putting it in slope-intercept form, I can subtract 6x from both sides. These are not like terms, so I cannot put those together. So I'm left with negative 5y equals negative 6x plus 30. And then divide everything by 5 so that I get this y by itself. I'm going to divide by negative 5. So I have y equals positive 6 over 5 x. And then I have minus, and 30 divided by negative 5 gives me negative 6. And this is our slope-intercept form, like I mentioned in the beginning, where m is your slope of 6 over 5, and b, which is this number right here, is your y-intercept. Now notice, if you compare that to what we got over here, you saw that your y-intercept was negative 6, which is the exact same thing that I got here. And your slope is 6 over 5 positive, which is again the same exact thing we got over here. Okay? So what you can do is just rewrite the equation. Now I'm going to give you another example. So if I give you 2x minus y equals negative 1. If I go ahead and I rewrite this equation so that it's in slope-intercept form, again, y equals mx plus b, I can go ahead, I can subtract both sides by negative 2x. I have negative y equals negative 2x minus 1. Now, I need my y by itself. I do not want y being multiplied by negative 1. So I'm going to divide everything by negative 1 to cancel that out. And so now I have y equals positive 2x plus 1. So my slope for this line is positive 2, and my y-intercept is positive 1. Okay, let's do one more example. If I have 4x minus 2y equals 6, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to move this guy over to the other side, okay, by subtracting negative 4 on both sides, the negative 4x. This cancels. I have negative 2y equals negative 4x plus 6. To get my y by itself, I divide everything by negative 2. And so this cancels out, and I have y equals positive 2x minus 3. So my slope is positive 2, and my y-intercept is negative 3. Okay? Now, the other trick I wanted to show you, okay, going back to this same exact equation, remember that our slope was 6 over 5, okay? If I give you that same exact equation of 6x minus 5y equals 30, okay, whenever an equation is written in standard form, you can actually, to find your slope, you can do the opposite of A divided by B. And to find your intercept, it would be your C divided by B. Now, remember, this is A, this is B, and this is C. Okay, so the opposite of A, because you see here I have negative A. This is a positive 6, but I have negative A. So the opposite of positive 6 is negative 6. And then I have over B. My B is negative 5. And if I simplify this, I have positive 6 over 5. Okay, and my y-intercept is C divided by B. So I have 30 divided by negative 5. And that gives me negative 6. Okay? And that will work every single time so long as your equation is written in standard form. You can use this trick right here. Okay? So now let's go back into your textbook and this your turn question right here. I'm going to solve this exact same equation. I'm going to solve it several different ways for you so that you guys can figure out which way works best for you. Okay, so we're going to start off with our equation of 3x plus 4y equals 12. Now, in your textbook, the way that your textbook solves it is by finding your intercepts first. So if I want to find my x-intercept, remember I need to make my y equal to 0. So I'm going to do 3x plus 4 times 0 equals 12. This cancels out. I have 3x equals 12 and x equals 4. So my first point is 4, 0. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to write that up here so that when I erase later, I remember it. Okay? Now going on to my y-intercept. I'm going to make my x equal to 0. So I have 3 times 0 plus 4y.
Natalia, please report to middle high office. Natalia, please report to middle high office. Miranda Montano, please report to middle high office. Miranda Montano, please report to middle high office.
Super awkward moment. Okay, moving on from that. So I finished writing the equation out. This cancels out. I have 4y equals 12. When I divide by 4, I get that y equals 3. So my point for this is going to be 0, 3. Okay, so again, I'm going to go ahead and write that up here. And now I know that these are my two intercepts. I know that my line is crossing through those 2 points, and I can use those 2 points to find the slope now. Okay, so my 2 points were 4, 0 and 0, 3. Okay, I'm going to do now y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. I have 3 minus 0 over 0 minus 4, and that gives me 3 over negative 4. So my slope for this line is negative 3 over 4. Okay? That's using the method from your textbook. Okay? Now, I'm going to go ahead and erase up here where I had my ordered pair. I'm going to write that my slope was negative 3 over 4 so that I don't forget it. And I'm going to show you now using the other two methods that we will still get negative 3 over 4. So the other method I showed you is by rewriting it from standard form to slope-intercept form. Putting it in slope-intercept form means I want this to be written as y equals mx plus b. So I want my y completely by itself. I'm going to start by moving this 3x over to the other side. If I do that, that means I'm subtracting 3x from both sides. So I have negative 3x now plus 12. If I divide by positive 4 to get that y by itself, I now have y equals negative 3 over 4x plus 3. And remember that when we solved this the first time, we saw that our y-intercept was positive 3. Okay? So my slope, again, is the exact same thing. And my intercept was also the exact same thing of positive 3. Okay? So now, the other thing that I showed you was, in standard form, your m is equal to negative a over b, and your intercept is capital C over b. Okay? Now, notice here, and this is why this this little method works if you use this third method that I'm showing you. If you go into this original equation, you guys see that you have to move this 3x over to the other side. So notice that it goes from a positive to a negative. Okay, so it's the opposite, just like this is. And you divide by b because you need your y to be by itself. So you need to divide both sides by your y. Okay, and then your y-intercept is the same concept. You end up dividing both sides by 4, so your c, which is right here, gets divided by the b. Okay, so if you did this same exact method down here, okay, which is what I had shown you before in that third method, if your equation is written in standard form, you can find your slope and intercept using this little method here. So the opposite of a in this equation is from positive to negative, so I have negative 3 over my b. And that's the same thing that we had gotten the first time around. And my intercept is my c divided by b, so I have positive 3 again. Okay? Now that we've gone and done that, so we know the answer to this your turn question from your textbook. It's asking you for the slope of this line. You know that the slope is negative 3 over 4. We're going to skip this explore activity and move on to page 181. Okay, and on page 181, you guys can see here at the top of the page, it says, why can it be helpful to solve a linear equation for y? Well, just like I just showed you a few minutes ago, we saw that when we solve for y, we can get it in slope-intercept form. So we can get slope-intercept form, which is y equals mx plus b. And from there, we can find our slope, which is m, and slope is m, and y-intercept is b. Okay, so you can find your slope and your intercept simply by rewriting your equation into slope-intercept form. Okay, so now graphing a linear function. Let me see, by the way, if I turn on this little light, how that works for you. Okay, I don't really like the way that looks, so I'm going to leave it how it was before. Sorry, guys. Okay, so graphing a linear function using a slope and y-intercept. This is extremely, extremely, extremely important. Whenever you have an equation, okay, sorry for the awkward moment again.
Please report to middle high office, your ride is waiting. Shelley Davis, please report to middle high office, your ride is waiting.
Random awkward moment again, I'm sorry for that. Okay, so we go ahead and we can see that if we need to graph using slope and y-intercept, okay, like it says here, so graph the function and then determine the domain and range. What you first want to do whenever you're graphing a line, you want to start off by plotting the y-intercept. So as I mentioned before, this number right here, because this is in slope-intercept form, okay, so remember that y equals mx plus b, where m is your slope and b is your y-intercept. Okay, you want to use that number, which in this case is positive 4, plot that first. Okay, and then if your slope is negative 2 over 3, then that means that, remember, slope is rise over run, so if your rise is negative, that means you're going down. So you're going to go down 2 and then to the right 3. Okay, down 2 to the right 3. Down 2 and then to the right 3. All right, that's all you need to do. Then connect your points and that's it. For this particular equation, it doesn't give you a specific scenario to follow. So if you need to list your domain, it's going to be the set of all real numbers, because you can see here that your line is extended. You have arrows on both sides. So that means you're using all x values. And your range, same thing, is going to be all your y values, because your line is going up and down. Okay? So how does the graph of the linear function show the domain is a set of real numbers and the range is a set of real numbers? Well, by simply having the arrows at the end of the lines. Okay, these arrows are showing continuation, and because it's continuous, that means that it is going in both directions, left and right, as well as up and down. Okay, so moving on to page 181 in the Your Turn question. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do question number 4 for you. and you guys are going to check to see if you can figure out number 5. So I'm going to start by plotting my y-intercept. My y-intercept is positive 3. So I'm going to go up here to positive 3 and put my point. My slope is negative 1 over 2. If my slope is negative, that means I'm going down 1 and to the right 2. So down 1 to the right 2. Down 1 to the right 2. And down 1 to the right 2. Okay? Then you can go ahead. I'm going to use my ID. And I'm going to go ahead and make a straight line that goes all the way across. And I'm going to put my arrows. Now, I've mentioned in class a couple times, you need to extend your lines. And you also need to put your arrows. Okay, I will be taking off points if you are not extending the line and if you're not putting your arrows. It's extremely important that you are showing continuation and that you're not just simply connecting the dots. I'm not trying to look for a little line segment. I want to see a full line. Okay, now over here, you guys are going to go ahead and read this example on your own. It's just applying exactly what we've just done, only using a real world type of question. So I want you guys to do that on your own. Try answering this reflect question on your own as well as the your turn question. Okay, notice here it's saying that why is the domain and range restricted? Okay.
Miranda Milano, please report to the high office. Miranda Milano, please report to the high office.
When something is restricted, that means there's a reason why it cannot be all real numbers. So think about the scenario of the problem that you're talking about, or the scenario of the question that they gave you over here on page 182. So what's the scenario and why is it that it cannot be the range of all real numbers? Why is your graph only this little piece right here? Okay? So go ahead, and that is the end of this lesson. Okay? I want you guys to complete the guided practice for this. You guys should be able to answer all 6 of these questions. Make sure to fill in all of these boxes. And any questions that you have, write them down and go ahead and ask us in class so that we can go ahead and answer. I say us because you guys from Ms. Crawford's class are also watching this video, so you guys can ask either me or Ms. Crawford. And if you're a Miss Imperatori student, go ahead and write it down and ask Miss Imperatori as well. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I enjoyed making it. I really want you guys to understand this, and I hope that these videos are helping you guys out. All right, I'll see you guys in class. Have an amazing day.